Welcome back to Just the Basics, a 10-step notarization checklist for Alabama notaries. My name is Michelle, and I've been speaking with you all over the past 9 weeks, sharing helpful information and tips to assist you when notarizing signatures. In this video, we'll be talking about step number 9, check your work. Now, I know some of you are tempted to fast forward through this video or just stop watching it altogether. Please don't do that. Why? Because even though checking your work or proofreading your work doesn't sound as exciting as calculating your notary fees or administering an oath, it is just as important, in my opinion. And so in this video, not only will I be sharing tips or suggestions on the best ways for you to check your work and what to look for, I will also share with examples of when I failed to check my work before leaving the appointment and how that affected me as a notary and signing agent and how it affected the customer. As you can tell, we are really at the end of the notarization process. We've already reviewed the document. We've verified the signer's identity. We have calculated the notary fee. We've administered any verbal ceremonies. We have made entries in our journal, obtained the signer's signature on the form. We have signed and completed the notary certificate. Everything is looking good. And now we're at step number 9. And my recommendations for you is to first go through the entire document that you've just signed and notarized from page 1 through the end. Just flip through each page. You are checking to see if you or the signer overlooked a signature that requires notarization. You're going to also take another look at the venue, which is on the notary certificate, and you're double checking to make sure that that venue still reflects or correctly reflects where your feet are planted while performing the notarization. And if it isn't correct, you're going to take the time to correct it and initial any changes that you made. Sticking with the venue for another moment, you're going to make sure that not only the state is spelled correctly, the state name, and for us that would always be Alabama, but you're checking to make sure that the spelling of the county name is correct. I'm sure you would agree with me, Alabama has some unique county names: Escambia, Conecuh, Tallapoosa. And if you're not spelling those county names every day, it could be a bit of a challenge. So if you're unsure about the spelling of a county name, that's when it is okay for you to either ask the signer or just Google it on your phone to get the correct spelling. You also want to review your notary seal impressions. If you're using an embosser or the ink seal, it's important that your name, your title, and the jurisdiction, all three of those words are legible, easily read and visible. And if it isn't clear enough, you need to draw an X through it and add another seal impression. Double check the dates that you've written, either beside your name or any date that you've written on the notary certificate. Is it written correctly? Do you have it as day, month, and year? And does the notarization date that you wrote in line up with the signer's signature date? This is important if the type of notarization you just completed is a jurat notarization. Believe it or not, authorities will check. They know for jurat notarizations, the signer's signature date and the notary's notarization date must match. You also want to check to see, did you write the signer's name in the correct blank or space on the notary certificate? On some documents, it can be a little tricky in figuring out if your printed name is needed versus the printed name of the signer. And if you now see that there was a mistake, now is the time to correct it. Draw a single line through, initial the wrong information, and then go ahead and print the right information. I often ask the signer to also help me review the document. I'll let them know what I'm checking for, and I'll hand it to them and say, hey, I want you to go through this, and can you double check and make sure that you signed everywhere that you needed to sign? And if you see any blank spaces, and bring it to my attention. You may not agree with me on doing that, but it has been very helpful. A second pair of eyes is always helpful, in my opinion. And no one has ever complained to me about being asked to double check documents. Leaving the form now for a moment, I want to take your attention to the notary journal and checking your work, the information you entered in the notary journal. Check to see if any additional comments need to be added. What do I mean by that? Most journals have a section for notes to be taken. So if there's anything you need to describe about any corrections that you made, mention that in the journal. You may want to mention if you all met up at a certain location or if there were any ID issues. Did you capture the ID information correctly and fully? If not, now is the time. You can ask the signer to see their ID card again so that you write the correct amount of information in the journal. Did you remember to record all of the documents that you notarized in the journal? I make one line entry per signer, and so that one line or journal entry, I itemize or list all of the different documents. And if need be, if there are a lot of documents, then I will move on to a second journal entry for the same signer. Don't forget to hand the ID back to the signer. Document any crossouts or corrections that you made in your journal. You never know, you may receive a phone call at a later date from the person receiving the notarized document, a lawyer, an auditor, a lender, wanting to know if you, in fact, made corrections to the document or if the signer did. Another thing that you're going to check is to verify whether or not the document required you to administer an oath or an affirmation. And if the document did you perform that oath or affirmation earlier? And if you didn't, now is the time for you to do it. And did you make a note in the journal that an oath or affirmation was administered? It is important that you do that. You'll find with more experience that some documents actually come with an instruction sheet. Ideally, you should ask for that at the beginning of the notarization appointment, but if you didn't at that time, it's fine to ask them now. Did an instruction sheet come with this document? Did you get an email that outlined what color ink to use, what date to do the signing? And there may be a separate document requesting your notary information, your commission start and expiration date, your contact information. That is not unusual, especially for documents dealing with real estate transactions. And by the way, stop forgetting to add your commission expiration date. Listen, even if the form or the document doesn't ask you for your commission expiration date, add it anyway. That is an important step, and on some documents, it is required, whether they ask for it or not. And one form that comes to mind is the Alabama absentee ballot affidavit. You will not see a section saying notary expiration date, but it is required that you add it. Checking your work does not exclude double checking the signer's ID. And so again, make sure if you were handed a license from the state of Oregon, what steps did you take to make sure that that's a valid driver's license from the state of Oregon? Did you compare it to another source? If not, now is the time to do that. And so, yes, you can ask the signer to pull out their ID a second time. I will never forget the couple from Maryland, and I may have mentioned this during step 2, but the couple from Maryland who handed me a fake ID card. And I did not take the extra step to pull out my ID checking guidebook to make the comparison. And it wasn't until the couple left my office and I was playing back through my mind how the appointment went that it came to me that when I flipped the ID card over, turned it over on the back, it was blank. There was no writing on it. but I was so caught up in conversation with the couple that I got distracted and did not realize it until it was too late. So again, if early in the 10-step notarization process you rush through verifying the signer's identity, it is okay for you to do that here at step number 9. It really is easy to get distracted. I remember when the Alabama marriage certificate had just come out, I had only notarized maybe 2 or 3 um, Alabama marriage certificates. I met with a couple, very nice. The appointment went well. We got it done. There were a couple challenges along the way with um, getting the parents' information documented correctly on the form, but we worked through all of that. Finally, ended the appointment, and the bride raced to the probate office to get it recorded. And lo and behold, I got a phone call from the bride telling me they would not record it. And when I asked the bride why, she said, because you didn't write in your commission expiration date. I was so embarrassed. Thankfully, I was available. I offered to come meet her. She said she was already on her way back to my office, and didn't even let her get out of the car. I was outside waiting for her. I added my commission expiration date, and then I also handed her her entire notary fee back. I was embarrassed and I was really angry with myself because that form does have a place that clearly asks for the notary's commission expiration date. My actions caused this bride to be inconvenienced, and if she didn't act quickly enough, it would have prevented that form from being filed and completed at the probate office. And I don't know of too many other documents that are as important as the Alabama marriage certificate. Here's the thing about making mistakes as a notary. It affects not only you, the notary, but it affects the signer, the customer. And one way or another, we notaries will pay for our mistakes. If it's general notary work, a customer, and especially those of you notaries who are doing this as a business, and even those of you who aren't, if you make a mistake notarizing a document, a customer may leave a negative review online about you that will be embarrassing to you, but those of you who are trying to run a notary business, a negative comment will discourage new customers from using your service. Those of you who plan on specializing in loan documents, real estate transactions, your mistakes can result in getting low ratings from the companies that hire you. And some mistakes can even delay a closing from occurring, which could impact a rate lock for the homeowner or the borrower. And so, again, your mistake could end up requiring that a second closing be scheduled with the signer in order to complete the transaction, which means additional costs to nearly everyone. Some states make it possible for the general public to file official complaints with state officials against notaries. Alabama now has a formal notary complaint process. Depending on the situation and the outcome, your commission can be suspended or revoked altogether. Keep in mind, in Alabama, we are bonded. And if a customer believes that they have incurred a financial loss due to your notary mistake, they can request to be reimbursed or compensated by the bond company. And then if that happens, or when that happens, whatever the amount of money that the bond company pays out to the customer or the signer, you, the notary, will have to come out of pocket and refund the bond company. And see, this is one of the reasons why notaries are encouraged to keep errors and omissions insurance. Now, remember, you aren't expected to be perfect. No human is. No notary is perfect. But you are expected to check your work before you leave the signing table or before you leave the appointment, so that you can catch and correct any mistakes that you made. That's not asking too much. Include time for you to do that. Keep this in mind, that step number 9, checking your work, will take an extra 5 minutes easily. You can get it done in another 5. And whatever you catch during those 5 minutes will save you time and headache going forward. This completes step 9 in the 10-step notarization process. Now, if you've watched from the beginning, thank you. And if you've missed one of the steps along the way, you have time to go back and catch up and watch that video before moving on to the very last step, step number 10, the notary wrap-up. Again, I want to thank you for watching. Please become a subscriber. It's free, and I think you will benefit from being a subscriber. If you found any information helpful in this video, please give it a like or share it with any other notaries that you know. Thanks again, and make it a great day.